Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with conductor, pianist, and retired music educator John Cuck. He is a recently retired teacher of secondary and college music, and he's also a great pianist. His choral and education experience is quite extensive and diverse. As a conductor, he's conducted choral and orchestral ensembles in Europe, South America, and the United States. He's got a great story. Enjoy this interview.
Well, cool. Well, it's great to catch up with you, and I appreciate it. First thing I want to know is, now that kind of the world's opening up from COVID, how's everything going? How did COVID change you?
I don't know if you know much about my background. I'm a retired music teacher, and so when I retired in 2018, and so I was doing a lot of freelancing in the New York metropolitan area, and I was pretty busy. And so when COVID hit, it pretty much shut down all of that kind of work. I'm mostly I'm a pianist, but also most of my work is with singers and with opera companies, and I'm a conductor as well. So that kind of stuff obviously just completely shut down. But what transpired during the whole pandemic or the lockdown at home was that I was getting a lot of calls to make recordings for people and or coach singers online, and so in many cases I was pretty busy, but it's not nearly as pleasing to do that. At least for me, it isn't, to do that kind of work, because it really takes the human element out of it. So and it was difficult. I don't have a recording studio. I did purchase recording equipment. But making recordings for either musicians, singers, or instrumentalists when they're not actually playing at that exact moment is tough. So things have started to kind of come back slowly for me. Although as the restrictions were lifted, I got calls to accompany choirs outdoors. Do concerts, play concerts outdoors or masked indoors. So it's been pretty good. It's not nearly what it was when, before the world stopped, but because I'm retired, I don't want to say I don't need it, but I don't need it as much as someone else is really depending on that as income.
So you clearly love music. You've been a music educator. What in the beginning, how did you fall in love with music? As long as I can remember, I was playing, and I was singing, and I was playing other instruments and piano. So it was always around my existence. But I never really thought about it as a career until I got to high school. My original thought of a career was law, and specifically politics. But that didn't work out. And so I really came to the realization, and it actually was the summer of '72. It was the summer before my last year of high school, where I really realized how much I love music, and that's really what I should pursue. And I pursued it primarily as an educator, but also as a performer. I mean, I kept both things going. What musicians were you into? Bands, musicians that really motivated and made you think, man, this is it?
Well, I did play in a band. I mean, a school band. I did sing in a choir, and eventually I did learn to play the organ and played at church. And did that, and still do that. But most of the ensembles as a young person were band or in college orchestra and choruses. I sang in choruses since I was a little kid.
What about teaching? What was the best part? Why did teaching become your passion, and what did you like the most about it?
Wow, that's a not a tough question, but a long question. I just, I like being around kids. I found that on very early that, and that's what motivated me to pursue teaching, is that I just love being around kids. And, you know, the interesting thing about teaching, and especially as I did get a full-time teaching job, is that no matter what kind of art I did on the weekends or that evening, no matter how brilliant I thought I played or conducted, the next morning my students could care less. They wanted me to be on for them. And that was an incredible grounding, in a sense. You know, I didn't really get too full of myself, because the next morning I had to wake up and I had to do it. The idea of, I love being around musicians, but being around children was something that really, and that's one of the things that I miss. I don't miss the teaching bureaucracy. I don't miss the responsibilities. And certainly, the way schools are now run, I certainly don't miss that. But I do miss being around kids.
What is it that you do these days? What is it exactly? If someone was to run into you and say, "What do you do? What's up with you? What do you do?" How would you answer that?
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm playing in a church. I'm subbing in a church. Actually, I'm a long-term sub, an interim in a local church here. I practice piano a lot because I do coach a couple of singers here in the house, and the stuff they're singing is challenging. I have recently come back from Romania conducting an opera. I do a lot of pickup stuff. You know, sometimes it's hard to say what I actually do, because it depends on what happens, who calls me. But it's mostly working with singers and, researching, studying. You know, it's not nearly as busy as it was before the pandemic, but it's still satisfying. You know, I'm still learning new things and playing a lot. Every once in a while, I do get hired for a conducting thing. I'm conducting a festival choir in November. That's basically it, I think.
So who would you consider a hero for you? Who do you look up to the most?
That's really odd. I don't, I'm not kind of wired that way. I mean, I respect certain musicians and certain people, certainly people in my life. Probably my wife I consider a hero. She's also a retired music teacher. If I was to look at somebody who's a real, living human being, she's probably my hero. In terms of musicians, we all have our wonderful, wonderful bits, and we all have some amazing faults. And I think that when you sort of hold someone up to that kind of hero stature, it's lacking at times. Some people who were so well respected in the music community, they had little black secrets, and so those people who held them up to be heroes or to be something that they wanted to emulate, as time goes on, stuff comes out that that they're really not worthy of that. So I'm reticent about saying that, except real life people. And my wife, we had children, we had a mortgage, we did the teaching thing, which left kids from this place to that place. So I would say, I know that's not sexy sounding. I should say something like, I don't know, Leonard Bernstein or.
No, I like that answer. No, that's good. So everyone has a perception or an idea of who they think you are. Your family, your friends, your former students, but you ultimately live your life. Who do you think you are?
I like to think that I am well respected in what I do, that I'm empathetic, that I'm caring, honest, hard worker, willing to do whatever it takes for my family. Obviously, the music piece is an important piece in my soul, but I've often heard that like who we define ourselves as shouldn't necessarily be what we do for a living. I love the teaching piece. and I do sort of see myself as, even though I'm not anymore, but as an educator who has taught and influenced thousands of children, and I'm very proud of that. Probably prouder of that than most anything I've ever done, except bring up two girls who are great individuals. I often, the beauty and the curse of Facebook is well known, but for me, the beauty of Facebook is that you can keep in touch with former students much easier than it was ever possible before. And so, a lot of my former students, when they get sort of the nostalgia little thing in their gut and they start texting each other, emailing each other photos of when they were in high school or college, and they include me in it, that's kind of nice. It's nice to see these people that were 14 to 18 years old. They were basically, some of the babies who now have children and big careers, and so I guess that's a long-winded way of saying that. I guess I still see myself as a teacher, but also, even as a musician, you're still teaching. You're teaching your audience what to listen for. You're teaching your audience why you think what you're doing is so great or so important. What's the message in what you're doing? And I guess that's probably why I ended up in both careers.
Beautiful, John. Hey, man, thank you for opening up. I really appreciate your time today.
No problem.
Good luck. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, and music around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.